What's cracking, giggers? Hopefully you're enjoying your pandemic profit time, or maybe you're sitting back and this is the video that you wanted to see before stepping into place and going out there and making things happen and make some money come in. Today, I'm going to be going through 100 plus tips that are specific to the gig industry as a whole, but I'm also going to spend a bit of time with Instacart, Amazon, Lyft, and Uber as I know them best. I've been doing independent contract work for 9 years now. I signed up with Uber and Lyft, which were my first share economy gigs about 5.5 years ago. Since then, I've surpassed 14,000 trips, couple thousand Amazon deliveries, and several hundred Instacart orders. And I can rest assured in saying that I feel uniquely qualified to at least share with you some strategies that allow me to make more per hour because I am doing things that create efficiencies as to where if you weren't to implement any of these, you would just be earning at a slower pace. Now, maybe chasing fast money isn't the best of ideas, but this is a way that you can get faster money while you're out there on the road doing things in the gigaverse. So I'm going to jump around this whole video, cut in and out, and make sure that you see the emblem on the screen of the appropriate company I'm talking about, or if it just says general, then this is something that parallels into likely any gig work. There's so much in this business that is framing your mindset, just good philosophy, and then applying appropriate strategies to utilize the opportunistic landscape that we have in front of us. If you're in the US and you're in a major city, anywhere, there are $20+ an hour gigs that you can do all day, every day, if you so choose to. But this may include you balancing multiple apps to be able to utilize every hour of the day. For example, some things are best in the morning, some things are great at night, and some things have their hot spot in the middle of the day. And this is up for you to figure out because every market's going to be a little bit different. Your schedule's going to be different, and you'll be able to see how your time slots open up for the areas you would need to be in to best utilize these apps. For example, Uber and Lyft are great in downtown metros at particular times, and you can use destination modes to get those to a farther part of the city if you're leaving downtown or leaving work and headed home. That 20-mile trip could turn into a $20 earning if you straddle these apps and put them to use as you can. And so let's get into this rapid fire session of just hearing all these ideas. So the first one I'll start with is for Instacart, and this is to have prepared text messages. This little thing can help earn you so much extra money because it allows you to get so much info off of just this one interaction. At the beginning of your batch when you start shopping, send something along these lines. Good morning with 2 G's and a wavy. I'm Caleb. I'll be shopping and delivering for you today. Just a heads up, stores are in weird shape, so there's a high chance of out-of-stock items. If they don't have what you requested, I'll either refund if 0 options, or send images of nearest options if more than one. Or, if there's only one obvious option, including any item you've pre-selected for backup, I'll scan that for replacement. We can refund whatever you don't like along the way, as well as add anything else you may want. Thanks in advance for your flexibility and patience. And so the reason why I send this is because I want to let customers know that I'm shopping and delivering for them. Some customers don't know that the shopper has to shop and that the shopper is the person that delivers. And so you want to make sure that they understand the value of what you're doing. I want to let them know ahead of time that I might have to shift their orders around. Some people might not know, but also just to feel if that's even okay with them. If it's not, they'll message back and say no substitutions or something like that. So it allows for that to get started at the beginning of your shop instead of when you're in front of the item and you need a response. This allows you to know if your customer is going to read or even respond to messages. Sometimes you won't even see that they've read that message and you're almost done with your shop. And so you can just tell that they're not going to need any confirmation or much more detail for the rest of the trip. And the next thing is I would have something prepared for Costco along these lines. And just in case the app still doesn't show them available, there's also been toilet paper and paper towels in stock if you want any. Smiley face. The reason I do this is because whether or not people have seen that paper towels or toilet paper are in the app, this adds value to the items themselves because it makes it seem like the stock has been low, which it historically has been. It's in and out. And quite honestly, sometimes it doesn't show. I've had customers make me add this whether or not they've seen it before, or just plenty of customers that have said, thank you so much. Yes, add this. Yes, add this. And between paper towels or toilet paper, basically every time you add one of those, it's about $5 an extra tip for you. Number 2, I'm going to stop counting. Next tip, bag your meat. Now, this is something that hopefully everyone learns from childhood, but if you don't bag your meat, the juices that the meat produces are going to get all over the place. You only need this to happen once before you learn it, but I will say you should learn it now. Bag your meat. In front of all the meat aisles, there are meat bags, and so just take one of those bags, bag your meat. If it's a really leaky package, double bag your meat, but bag your meat. So send ETA. This is important because I have gotten cash tips at the end, and one time that I got a cash tip, the lady chased me down. She didn't know I was arriving. I kind of silently made it to her place, and this was before I was sending ETAs. And so just in the likelihood that maybe someone is going to leave a tip out front for you or meet you to help you with something or whatever, this is just another way to interact with the customer and give them a good experience. So it isn't good habit to say something along the lines of what I say when I'm on my way to their house. I'll read them off the ETA and say something like, my ETA says 3:04 p.m., and you should receive notification when delivery is complete and all items are at your door, period. Thank you. And then I put an extra U and a peace sign because I am just trying to leave them on a positive note instead of just their interaction with looking at the app as, oh, Caleb's completed shopping. Caleb delivered. Now it's going to say, Caleb completed shopping. Message from Caleb. Oh, this nice stuff. Peace sign. Oh, thank you. And they usually say something nice back, and then they get the delivery. So this is just another way to remind them that you are a valuable shopper. So another one would be reminding of getting carded. Whenever you have alcohol in your order, sometimes this happens on Amazon, but on Instacart, if you have alcohol, when you get to their house, you're going to have to scan their ID. Now, you need to check their ID. They're doing like secret shoppers, so they're trying to crack down on people not checking IDs. So make sure you check it well, but on the back, you will have to scan it. When you send the ETA, just also add something like, and I will need to scan and verify your ID for delivery. Easy. Something simple that helps also is having special bags for delivery, whether this is your own personal insulated bags or if you take advantage of Instacart's 4-bag offer for like 25 or 35 bucks or something like that. It's worth it, whatever it is. Those aren't the best bags in the world. I also went and got one from Costco for like 12 or 18 bucks. You got this really big one. And so having those special bags helps with delivery for 2 reasons. One, it keeps the cold food cold. And for 2, it shows your care for these people's products. And so when you're dropping stuff off at the door and you're like getting the milk and eggs out of this insulated bag, it's like, oh, he made an extra step. He didn't just drive 15 minutes with my food unprotected in his car from the store. It's like, oh, he took care of it. So when you're shopping, separate orders in cart. Thankfully, carts have a basket up top. They have the big cart in the middle, and then they got the bottom. Well, most stores will have the bottom shelf. And so if you have 2 orders, it's best to keep those separate when you're shopping for them. So if you have 3 orders, there are 3 shelves, but you will likely have to mix and match stuff in the bigger middle. And so just keep it as a mental picture in your mind as you're shopping. And then when you get to checkout, unload the first order, and you can even go in the app and make sure that you have all the right items as you are unloading them onto the belt. And just communicate it well with the cashier. Be like, hey, can you help me keep these separate? And sometimes they'll tie the bags for one order, or they'll brown bag it for another one instead of plastic, and certain things like that. And so just keep your eye on the orders, because instead of having to spend a bunch of time at the register trying to re-separate them, or God forbid you make it to your car and everything is bagged separately, this will save you a bunch of time. When you're shopping, it's best to keep the cold things till the very end. Even if you walk by the ice cream at the beginning, you don't want to pick it up and then shop, because after the 30 minutes of your shopping, you're going to have a melted product. So I guess strategically, if you think that the ice cream is going to be slim, go and find the ice cream and like pick it up or something, or hide it in the freezer somewhere so someone else doesn't find it. If I don't know, I've done stuff like that. I've even used my insulated bags in the store, filled them with like frozen veggies, and then put my cold stuff in it at the very beginning and walked around the store with it. And I basically had my own ice packs from the frozen veggies. And then at the very end, I'd put the ice packs back out, and I had my refrigerated items that were particularly cold, having already shopped for 30 minutes with them. Yeah, wait for cold things and use bags if you can. I wrote a note that says get all the monies, and I guess all where my head goes with that is when you're checking out meats, sometimes you can get one that is a little bit heavier. When you are getting an item that maybe they want 4 of something and there's only 3. Maybe if you look to see if they had a replacement set up, get the replacement as the 4th and then get the 3. But, when you scan it, check it out as 4, and the computer will fix it later on. And so just don't let inventory get in the way of you making stuff, or don't let some sort of limitation that might be budged a little bit get in the way of you maximizing what the order potential is for that product or something. And so get all the monies. There's going to be boosts that are happening throughout these systems. There's going like promotional boosts where they add $2 to $6, $8 for orders just to get them out, or just to have more people on the platform. So get all the monies. If there is a bonus, like for example that Lyft puts on all the time, is they will give you $13 after 10 rides, and then they will give you $20 more after 10 more rides. And so you get 33 extra bucks for doing 20 rides throughout the week. And so maybe you focus on Uber full time, but you at least do those 20 rides with Lyft to get that extra bonus. And so get all the monies. Almost no one tips on the back end. This is for Instacart, but I will say that whatever you see at the beginning, whatever you accept as your batch amount, expect that to be it. Now, I've already mentioned how you can upsell people when you're at the stores, or kind of inflate the price if there's limited stock and there's something that weighs a little bit more and you have to end up getting that or something similar. But don't expect there to be a low tip at the beginning and think that, oh, they're probably just saving up for a cash tip at the end, or they're just going to wait and see how I do and then they'll tip. No. Orders that don't have a tip at the beginning could be like that for any number of reasons. Sometimes someone's order goes completely wrong, and then Instacart reissues the order, but they don't give the same tip. And so there will be a tipless order that shows up very often in Instacart's feed. How they end up getting rid of those is they marry them with another batch of small items and good sized tip or something. And so they move basically non-tipped orders into other ones. And that's why there's 2 or 3 per order. It's because 1 or 2 of those people are not tipping that much. And so don't imagine a better earning than what it shows, because it very often is just what it shows. With Instacart, it's all about the speed of your shop and then the speed of your delivery. And so you have travel time to the store, you have shopping time, and then you have delivery time. And so those are the 3 factors to make things happen. Try and be positioned in a place in town where you can be to the best shopping centers within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What this will do is allow you to have close access to stores so you can have a better gauge of how long it's going to take you to complete them. And so if you're looking at item counts, anything under 20 items, you can do as quickly as a 30, 40-minute full turnaround. Anything between 20 and like 30, 35 items, it can take closer to an hour to do. And anything after 35 items starts to get into a potentially very long shop. Granted, when there's like 70 items, you're going to have something basically in every single aisle. And so sometimes those can be just as quick as something with 40. But what I would say is if you're gauging your time to be like an hour at a time to do a batch, try and keep your goal items under 30, and you'll be able to find the perfect batches that you can do in at least an hour. So then when you look at the batch amount, you can be like, oh, cool, I'll make that much over the next hour. Let me do this. Ask for help. This one's important. It goes through every single app, but mainly with Instacart, asking for help is crucial because you are in stores that you don't know and you got to find items. All the people that work in the store work in the store. And so their job is to help people that need to find stuff and answer questions about stuff in their store. And so don't feel afraid to ask for help. And this is how you get to learn the store. At the beginning, I was taking so long. I was taking 2 to 3 times as long to shop as I do today. And that's just because I didn't know where products were. There's so many unique products in stores. And so ask for help. This is how you learn stuff. Ask for help. Ask people. Be like, hey, excuse me, can I ask you something? Hey, excuse me, do you know the stock well? Hey, excuse me, have you seen this? Or what do you know about this? Blah. And show them pictures and ask for help. In the same light, ask for help, yes, but customer service is not your crutch. And so do what you can to figure stuff out. If you see something says it's in the bakery and you looked around the bakery and you notice that nothing in the bakery has brand names, but the item you're looking for is a brand name item, maybe there's another bread section. Where can you go and look to find that? And so it's situations like that where instead of trying to track down someone to ask a question, maybe you can do one last pass through the bagel aisle and see if that is where it's at and not the bakery. A scan won't hurt. When you are looking at items, the packages change from the app to real life. Packages are getting updated, sometimes the products morph, and sometimes there's no picture. Sometimes it's just a nothing. And so scan something. Just, scan the barcode. And if it's the right barcode, it'll tell you. And if it's not, it will tell you the product that it is. And you can see whether or not you're close to the product you're looking for. But also, I guess sometimes it pops up and it says, this item's not found. This is your dilemma. And at that point, you should figure out whether or not it's the right item. If it is the right item, it should most likely scan, but every now and then the right item still doesn't even scan. If you have a product that is the right brand and it says all the right stuff and it looks like the exact same thing and it's the exact same price, if you have faith that the customer would be fine with that product, then just force mark the product and move on. Do a double scan. If you think you found the right product and you scan it and it says wrong product, try and scanning it again, and sometimes that works. It's kind of strange that this works, but sometimes the camera sees the barcode a little wrong if you're moving quickly, or maybe it scans the wrong barcode. Maybe you're up against the wall and on the way to the product, it scanned the barcode next to it and you didn't even notice. So do a double scan if ever you think that was the right product. Move things. In stores, it's chaos on the shelves. All the workers in there are just trying to organize the products and rearrange them back to how they were when the day started. Everyone's messing up products. And so when you are looking for a product and you don't see it, just look around. Do yourself a favor. You will find the product over half the time. Well, at least that's been the way that it feels is my success ratio with this is there's no product on the shelf, and so you just kind of dig, go to the back, and kind of scoot over, and sometimes a product has moved, like a little box of baking soda, or like, the bag of flour, or like the fruit cups are in the wrong thing. Just like move things and try and find the product. If you're in the area, the only reason you wouldn't find something by moving stuff is because someone was there before you and move stuff. But it's almost always that there's an additional product or two that's just a little out of sight that people didn't pick up on. Furthermore, items aren't always where they are. One time, I found a bag of, it was like groats or something, or steel cut oats. Sorry. It's like a bag of steel cut oats. And it was just sitting on top of just like random stuff in the store, but it was out of stock. But this item was just sitting there. And so I picked it up and it, got me that extra couple bucks, because every product that you pick up or don't is adjusting your tip. The tip you see at the beginning is based off of the total at the end, almost always. They just say tip them 20%, tip them 40%, or something like that. And so that's how people are tipping. And so if you lose a product, if you can't find a product, you would end up not ordering that product for them, not checking out with that product for them. And that would lower the bill, which would lower your tip. And so do your best to find products. Don't overspend time trying to find products, but you should be focused on finding products. If they're in the store, it's your job to find them. So products aren't always where they should be. Send messages ASAP so you can get an answer as quick as possible. So this goes off on sending queued up messages at the beginning, but then also if you are on Amazon or Uber or Lyft, send the "Are you ready?" text right away, or send the "I'm out front" text, or send the "Do you have a backup for this?" question on Instacart, because they don't always respond right away. And if you have 5 more minutes of shopping, you got to send that question now. Otherwise, if you wait the 5 minutes and you're done and you ask the question, then you're waiting the entirety extra. And so just send your messages quick, get it done. I mentioned this before, but big orders might send you through every aisle. This is both good because you're just kind of scooting up and down the aisles and just slowly picking stuff up, but it's also a bit of a drag because not every store is mapped appropriately inside the app. And so you scan something and it takes you back to the very top and you have to just spend time looking at each item. Obviously, it gets easier as it goes on, but at the beginning, scanning through 50 different items from the top is a nuisance. And so just at the beginning, kind of read all the places you got to go and then kind of plan your route for the store. Typically, you'll start in the bread section and weave all the way over to the produce and then go back to the freezers and then be done. Picking avocados is tricky. Picking bananas is tricky. Basically, the less ripe they are, the safer you are. And so when you're picking an avocado, a little tip is to keep the little tip on the end. If you do that, it allows it to not get rotted so quickly, because that little stem actually will create an open cavity to the avocado. And so you want to make sure to leave the little stems on avocados. And whether or not a customer notices you did this, it at least gives you the ability to say you chose the best avocados. Park your cart. Parking your cart allows you to be able to move quicker through the store. And so if you park your cart along the wall or the end cap or anywhere, just park your cart, then you can run, pick out the item, and run back to your cart. Especially if it's really crowded, this is a good tactic to just move to and from parts of the aisle very quickly. Check below the seats. It is a tragedy when a nectarine rolls out of your bag without you knowing, or, the toothpaste slides out and is under your seat. Now, thankfully, neither of those have happened to me, but I have left stuff in my car. I left a huge 25-pound flour bag in my back trunk before, and it's just a bummer for the customers. They don't get their product, and you either have to take it back or the company gets mad at you. And so just double check all of your stuff. Follow the rules. As simple as wearing a bib in Costco, if they still allow shoppers in before open. Just follow the rules. You are a representative of this company, but also hopefully you are just a good, sound, moral person. There we go. Human. And so just make sure you follow the rules. Don't run and race through the stores. That's not allowed in almost any store. Just be respectful. I mean, these places are going to turn into your workplace, kind of. I mean, I'm very friendly with dozens of workers from a dozen different stores in town because they see me in there all the time. They know I'm one of the Instacart guys. And so when we talk, there is just further levels of respect and appreciation for one another because we're familiar with each other. And I wouldn't be on as good of a page as I am with everyone if I wasn't always following the rules. Meat is understocked at Costco in the morning. So Costco orders open up for Instacart at 10 o'clock, I would believe, in most places. And right at the beginning, you're going to have some of the biggest orders, but also just keep in mind Costco sometimes is behind with meat in the mornings. Go there for yourself and check it out. But it has been something that has gotten in the way of a substantial amount of tips for me, mainly with orders that are almost solely meat, which sometimes comes up. So, when you're proofreading orders, double check to make sure that you're not getting something that's going to not be possible in the store. So let's say, for example, you see an order. Oh my God, I saw this once with 7 big, huge rolls of toilet paper from Costco. And my app has a glitch, and so I don't get to see the thumbnail. So I didn't know that this was the thing, but when I accepted it, I then ended up seeing that there was 7 $20 big mega packs of toilet paper, which the limit is 1. And so after I took those off, it cut my tip to basically nothing with this person's really small order. So I don't know if they did that on purpose to just try and have an order happen really quickly and get accepted, or if they legitimately did not know that we are in a toilet paper towel shortage and just accidentally ordered 7 of them. This is one that might not ever matter to you, but just to ease some nerves, is that it doesn't matter to a customer who you ring up first in a multi-order. This does matter to you. Basically, customer A and customer B have estimated amounts that are going to be charged to the card when you order. And so when you're checking out for customer A, your card has a verification up to the estimated amount of that order. And same thing with customer B. If you accidentally have $30 extra worth of charges for an order, you're going to get declined, and you're going to need to get within that threshold that is kind of predetermined for the order. And it's predetermined based off of what's in the checkout list. And so I have on accident before checked out customer B first and A second. And after I spoke with support, they ended up telling me that whatever you have lined up in the app is how it will charge. And so if you ring up customer B first and then ring up customer A second, there's no way to undo that, but it's not something that needs to be undone. If you were able to get through it, like let's say they're similar amounts in value, then your card will actually let them go through, and the system will continue to adjust the same way it would have in any order, which is based off of the shopping list that you've completed in the checkout section inside your app. And so that's probably a detail that doesn't need explaining, but it might save you time on the phone just knowing this. With Instacart and Amazon, allow your GPS to be on always. So let it read it in the background. It's just something you got to put up with, but it allows the apps to keep a mark on your GPS locations, so it sends you live updates of the appropriate opportunities. It's a frustrating thing whenever I am matched with a city that is like 20 miles away with Instacart. Sometimes this happens. And so at that point, if I'm in another city on the app system, then it's not going to show me the things closest to me. And so just make sure your GPS is always on so it doesn't think you're somewhere that you're not, so you get the best read for opportunities. Start your car when loading. If it's cold outside, go in your car, get it comfy. If it's hot outside, which it is these days, go in your car, get it cool. So whenever I am pulling up to my car, before I load into the car, I go in, turn it on, crank up the AC, and just let it cool down. This is for my own sanity, but also for the benefit of the products. Turn around. If you're in an aisle and you see something in another aisle, if you are not halfway to the aisle yet, or if the item on the other side is more on the other half, just turn around. Like, doing a U-turn does not make you lesser of a person than just staying in the direction that you're going. If the direction that you're going would be a longer route, it's good to have the mindset of, let me cut the 10 feet out of me turning around right now instead of going that way out of my day of walking. Because at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the month is when you get to tally up all of your savings. And so if you get to save half an aisle every other trip, you're going to save, I don't know, half a mile by the end of the week or something, or by the end of the month. And so just turn around, get things done quick. Proper manners. If you knock something down, whether it's off the shelf or kind of tilted over on the shelf, then just fix it. This is part of following the rules, but also just part of being a good person. You want to make sure that you fix things that you create issues to. Like, you are working in these stores also, and so just treat it as such. If you reach for something, it falls over, just put it up. If you're going around a corner and knock something off, just pick it up. Not that big of a deal, but it actually is a big deal. Exchange a squeaky cart. This is important for your sanity. Want to make sure that if you pick up a cart and start walking with it, and there's like a wheel with a flat side and it goes, or like there's a wheel that goes, you're going to be with it for 40 minutes. Like, take 40 seconds, exchange it out, and have a comfy cart that's nice and smooth. Every now and then you get a trip, maybe from Target. Oh my gosh, Target has the best carts. Mushrooms should be closed. When you're picking out like berries, the way that you verify a good berry batch is just to make sure you see zero mold anywhere in sight. So pick it up, look at everything that you can, and if there's no mold, you're good to go. With mushrooms are mold. So how do you know if they're good? Well, a ripe mushroom is one that has yet to open from its base. Or I guess a ripe mushroom is a mushroom that's open from its base. So you want unripe mushrooms. And so when you're looking at mushrooms, just if you have the option to get a mushroom that has a closed cap, make sure you get those because those are fresher. FIFO. First in, first out. What this means is grocery stores, restaurants, etc. Whenever a place or a business is dealing with perishables, what they will do is a system called first in, first out. So if you have a fresh thing and you're about to stock it on a shelf, you put the freshest thing all the way in the back. And so when you're shopping, don't be afraid to dig into the back to look to see if there's better lettuce back there or a higher expiration date milk or something like that. And so first in, first out is something good to know about because it does mean that you have the chance to maybe find something fresher behind the rest. Order deli meats up front. When you're walking in, before you start your shop, if you can, go over to the deli department, and if you have deli meats or cheeses, let them know your order. Make sure they verify it, maybe write it down, but typically you just tell them. And then they will take 5 to 10 minutes to make that happen. And so continue on shopping while they're doing that. This is just a way to not wait till the end or not wait during, just get it done. And once you initiate it, then continue shopping. Mind where the line starts. Every now and then you get to a store where there's one line and it like wraps to the last aisle. And so when you're shopping, keep in mind that line and know that maybe it's best to get the products in that back corner last, and so you can slip right into line. And I have saved a bunch of spots in line by doing that, just making sure that you navigate towards the line so you can end in the line instead of spending time in the aisle that the line is at and then continuing on your shop and then going back. It's like you don't want to zigzag. You want to travel as little as you can in these stores. And so the least distance that you can in the store is the goal. Keep clear of wet belts at checkout. If you have a bag of chips or some sort of special cardboard box of something and you set it on checkout belt and that belt has, some condensation built up, or maybe the person didn't wipe it down after spraying it with their disinfectant, you just want to make sure that the belt that you're sitting stuff on is as dry as can be. You don't want to get sloppy stuff from a belt that's wet. When you're on your way to a delivery, you can use Google Maps to add a stop, and this will help you estimate what a second or third delivery will take to complete by just adding a stop by copy and pasting any of the addresses into Google Maps. Remember, you can add multiple stops and have a multi-stop route in Google Maps, and so maybe there's a scenario where you would want to know what time it'll be when you're done with the third delivery, and you can do that at the beginning or in the middle of your navigation. You can just open it up and create further stops to get those estimates. This is at least a way for that. Sometimes customers are only using text when you are messaging them in the platform. So when you message them in the platform, you can send pictures. However, you don't know if the customer is in their app or on their web browser, or if they have it set up for text messaging. So if you're sending pictures and you're not getting responses, or you don't see that the picture was read or seen, then you can even ask the customer, are you receiving images, or are you texting, or did you see my image I sent you? Just keep that in mind, because I did have to to guess that a customer wasn't receiving pictures one time when I was sending stuff. There was just some context clues I picked up on, but I did find out that not everyone sees images when you send them. And not everyone knows that you send images that they don't receive, and so you do have to just be aware. Sometimes there's multiple barcodes. Sometimes a box or a bag has 2 different barcodes. Especially even at Costco, there's barcodes on the product, and if it's a multi-product batch, there's a different group barcode that's like on the handle sometimes. And so just double check for double barcodes. Do you know what the yellow little mound things are at the fronts of stores? These guys, those little things, you know what those are, what they're used for? They are used for knocking stuff off the bottom of your cart. So when you go over these, maybe lift the back or, just try and guide it over slowly, but just careful. If there's anything on the bottom front of your cart. Oops. And the last one specifically for Instacart is to wedge doors open. I guess there are some situations where you could do this with Amazon, but with Instacart, sometimes there'll be moments where you have to go up a stairwell, and instead of just trying to open doors with each trip, because sometimes you need to go upstairs multiple times to deliver a lot of heavy things for people. So if you wedge doors open, this just allows you to walk through with more ease. Now let me spend some time on tips that will help generally with any type of gig work. Frame your experience. You have to understand what you're doing so it doesn't get so overwhelming sometimes. Especially if you are not used to 1099 type work, you have to be the one that seeks out the opportunity. You have to be the one that chooses when you wake up and decides when you go home. And so if you frame your experience as to what it means for you that day or how you look at these for the week, it helps you with holding peace. For example, framing my experience the way I see it is it's a way to work and have great income while having extreme flexibility. And so my experience is I am working the easiest job basically I've ever had, making some of the best money I've ever made. And it is something that's always changing. So there's all these exciting variables. And so my experience is one of adventure. And so however you want to frame your experience, do that so it doesn't just feel like you're working for the man in something that you're not really working for anyone but yourself for. Move on. So this is important. When rideshare countdown gets to 0, or if someone doesn't answer your question with Instacart, or if you can't find the address with Amazon, it's important to just move on. There are certain situations where you might be able to feel, let me give it just a little more time. Let me try just once more to look down that aisle. Let me give them a call a last time. But there will come a point where your intuition should be to move on, and this will save you time. Have a schedule. I know the best times to work, and I've designed that based off of knowing when the best times to work are. But for you, maybe you already have a schedule in your week. Maybe you have a family or two that you are tending to. Whatever it may be, find a schedule that works for you and stick to it. If you're going to work that 8 until 2 a.m. shift on the weekends with Uber, and you're going to do Instacart in the morning, make it a schedule and schedule it like you're your own boss, and then follow through with it like you're your own boss's employee. And this will help you at least be able to stay consistent with your schedule in the mix of things. Have a strategy. When I go into a store, I know which side of the store I'm attacking first. I know if there's items I should go and make sure to lock in if it's maybe a sensitive item that's not always there. Like I will sometimes, if I don't know what the stock is in Costco, I'll run to go and get toilet paper and paper towels first and then start over because it's worth it to try and secure that $5-10 in tip like the toilet paper and paper towels tend to be versus just going nonchalantly through the store. When I'm with Amazon, I have a strategy. When I'm with Instacart, I have a strategy. And so, start at the best side of the store, start your shift at the best times, and just make sure to form a strategy that allows you to become more efficient over time. Wake up early. If you really need to get your grind on, we've got to make sure you take advantage of every ounce of day that you can. Airport rides with Uber and Lyft start at 4:30 in the morning. So if you live out far in the county, versus where the airport is, you can get a long ride all the way to the airport. Set up destination mode and have it take you there. Or Instacart will have some stores that open at 8 o'clock and you can start doing shifts at 8 and then know that the 10 o'clock Costco rush and then every hour they're on until 2 has really big opportunities also. And Amazon has shifts that start as early as 4:30 in the morning. These are all ways to be able to get a good start to your day, and you can make an extra $100 to $200 before noontime if you are diligent with your efforts in the morning. So wake up early. And the older brother of waking up early is staying up late. It is it's valuable time late night, especially with Uber and Lyft. Actually, specifically with Uber and Lyft. Staying up late basically allows for double to triple the value of each hour. There are surges that don't happen during the day that happen at night, and there are volumes of people that happen in the downtown centers that also don't happen during the day like they do at night. And so make sure you stay up late. Put it in perspective. This goes back to framing your experience, but also just to put in perspective the hour that you put into work, or the 30 minutes you drive to the center, or all of the time that you spend cleaning. Just keep it in perspective of what it actually means for the value of what you're doing. If you're cleaning your car and it takes an hour, just remember that that creates a space for your customers to feel more secure and safe and comfy and cozy with you. If customers are getting into your car and your seats aren't cleaned, then you're going to have people that might rate you worse or might skip on tipping you because your car is not up to par. So putting in perspective will allow for when you're spending the extra time doing certain things, or if you get a really bad batch and just by poor luck you have something that is really not a valuable hour, just put it in perspective. You had that one last week that counted for 4 inside of 1, or that you really don't know what would have happened if you didn't accept this, so maybe this is actually better than what you would have been doing. Just put in perspective as often as you can. This will allow you to keep your cool. Keep your cool. Customers are going to pick at you. Politics comes up quite often. You know, every now and then someone gets a wrong product or a product they don't like, or maybe they're having issues with the company and they take it out on you, or they're upset at the pricing and you're on the end of it that you get this complaint. Just keep your cool, because if you create heat within yourself, it's going to only infuriate the situation. So at times where something is pushing you beyond schedule that's appropriate, or a customer is doing really just hilariously dumb things, keep your cool, because you're making money, you're working your own thing, you get to make your own schedule. It's easy. Just keep your cool. Be decisive. Maybe you're going down a street and you see that your maps is GPSing you one way, but you see that there's actually another way that looks like it's shorter or quicker. Just be decisive. If you're in the store and you see a line open up and you're like, should I take a shot? Just be decisive. Make decisions happen. The better you get at deciding on good things, the more good things will come your way. And so the less time that you spend debating whether or not to do something, just decide. Just be decisive and make it happen. Take advantage of early bonus opportunities. When I started with Lyft and Uber, they had ginormous bonuses. Think back to even when the customers started. You could get $50 or $20 every time you referred someone to be just a customer. And when I signed up with Uber and Lyft, Uber had like almost a $2,000 bonus for my first month, and Lyft, I was able to make an extra $4,000 in my first month. This is because at the beginning of building the network, the companies will value customer and driver acquisition way more than they will a couple years later. And this is an example of that, because nowadays Lyft has a bonus guarantee at the beginning. Instead of offering $4,000 like they did for me, $1,000 every week for doing 40 rides, now in your first month they'll guarantee you $1,200 in earnings if you do 120 rides or something like that, which if you do the math on just average ride, you're actually not going to even receive a bonus. And so it's like this ghost bonus that is just how it is nowadays. And so take advantage. When a new network starts up and you see a good bonus, don't sit on it for too long, because it's not going to be there forever. Have a good profile picture. Having a good profile picture allows for the chance for people to feel more comfortable with you, or at least it allows for the chance for the people to not feel discomfortable with you as best they can. So make sure you got a nice picture that's well lit and throw on a smile. Pass on kindness. Today, for example, I was at an Amazon shift and we were all waiting in line and it's scorching hot outside and it's just, it got to the point where there was just awkward silence the whole time and I started kindly talking to someone else and we started up a conversation. Someone else, two other people jump in and me just thinking, let me lighten this mood. Let me see if I can add to anyone else's day. And we were actually to share some notes with one another. But whether it's you're saying hello in a friendly way or acknowledging someone that you make eye contact with in the store or just saying thank you for anyone that moves a tiny bit out of your way with their cart, just passing on that kindness adds to your day and adds to others. And it's very easy and cost effective to do. Eat well. Having food that fills you with gunk and sludge and slows you down is going to make it so you can't stay out as long as maybe you could with better food, and that you won't have as much energy. This will bring down your quality of conversation, and then it'll also slow your thinking down. It's just important to pack food that doesn't grog you down, but food that helps vitalize or be good for you. I have a lot of nutty date bars and nuts and fruits that I take. And those tend to be the things that hold me over. And if ever I have to buy stuff out on the road, I just get veggie burritos. There's no meats or cheeses and stuff that I get. And that's for a number of reasons. But one of the benefits to that I know is that you don't get this food comatose that happens. And so if you're especially sitting all night or, just out in the world all day, you don't want to be spending a bunch on food. So pack as much as you can. And you don't want your food to be limiting. And so eat well. Run. Make sure that you run as much as you can. If you think about it, you have to travel 100 yards. You can do that in a fifth the time by running or even just lightly jogging versus walking. Now, if you walk, that's great. That's kind. You'll get through your day. But think of a 40 to 60 hour work week scaled up over a year or however long you will be doing this. Implementing running in between you and the door or you and the store, it just will allow you to have way more time. And saving an hour or two per week, if you're able to make $20 to $40 an hour, you're actually gaining $20 to $40 an hour for every hour that you save, and you can save a lot of time just by moving quickly. Stay away from making negative comments about anything. Now, whether or not you go hardcore straight edge with zero negativity, or if you just do what you can to defuse loaded questions or questions that just have a negative undertone, it's important to not trash the company, to not trash other customers, and to, of course, not trash yourself, but just to hold at least a neutral stance on things. And maybe you have to develop a better sense of verbal judo, or maybe you just have to stop watching the crap that you watch. But there is a way to get to the other side and stop feeding negativity. And when you do this, your customers will thank you for it. Stretch. At the end of the day, make sure you have a stretch routine. I have found that my 20 to 30 minutes in stretchercising that I do at the end of the night allows me to have a speedier recovery. I could sleep like an hour less and feel more rested if I stretch versus not stretching and then going through the same night. Also, it'd be good to stretch throughout the day. If you're doing a 12-hour driving shift, please get out of your car, go to the back, open up your trunk, and just put your hands on the rails and just stretch out some good woo-saws. It is important to keep your body flowing. You want to make sure you're moving your legs. Your legs are just sitting there all day. You're on your, you're just kind of hunched over. You're going to mess up your spine, your neck, and your legs so much quicker if you don't stretch. Now, it's just very important to know that you should try and stretch to keep your body symmetrical, because it's basically impossible to sit symmetrically in your car for long periods of time. You're favoring one side of your body so much, and you're just sitting down and it's just compressing. There's so many reasons to stretch. Water. Drink water. That should be it. Anything else you drink, water is the base of it, so might as well just cut out the junk. Drink whatever you want, but just make sure you drink enough water. Drink a lot of water. Staying hydrated will do more good for you than you could know. An appropriate diet of water is probably better even than an appropriate diet of food during your shift, because water will be this way to keep your body hydrated. If you haven't heard, water does wonders for you. So just make sure you're always watering up. Shade. Shade is so crucial. When you park for Amazon delivery and you got to get out and go up into some apartment building, if there's a spot with shade, get it. If you're going to a store to shop for Instacart, find the shadiest spot. It's okay. Walk twice as far if you get something that's twice as shady, because coming back to a cooler car is underrated. You're either going to get into an easy bake oven or you're going to get into just a moderate car. Believe me, you want to make sure that your perishable foods do not come back to a sauna. Mind your route. So for Amazon specifically, but also for any other GPS that's going to direct you places, try and follow that as best you can, unless you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is another better way. There's no direct harm in going the route that these apps are suggesting, because maybe there's a closure, or maybe even with Amazon delivery, maybe this really is the most efficient way to go. And sometimes on Amazon deliveries, there's time limits with each delivery, with what window those people selected their delivery for. And so mind your route, follow your route as best you can. And if ever there's a chance for a shortcut or some other new implementation, go for it, but do your best to mind your route. Car maintenance on your own. So there's a few things you can do for general car maintenance and servicing that will save you money. Whether or not you change your brakes or change your oil, you can at least buy your brakes and buy your oil on your own. For almost every car, you can get your cabin air filter online or at an auto parts store and then install it yourself. Believe me, there's a YouTube video that explains how to install it. But for other things like oil or brakes, these are things you're going to go through a lot if you're putting on a lot of miles. And so if you buy brakes online and oil online, you can then take those to a mechanic, or even, oil. You can take brand new oil to, let's say, a Toyota dealership, and I have a Chevy, and Toyota will just charge me the labor to do the change. So I pay for the oil and then the $18 in labor, and they do the oil change. And that tends to save $5 to $15 every time you do it. And then with brakes, if you buy your brakes online and you can take it to a mechanic, maybe you build a relationship with a local mechanic, or you or your friends know one. I have a mechanic that charges me $20 to $80 to do 1 to 2 brakes or rotors. And so having them do that swap out and you buying it online, or you providing the oil and then they do the labor, these are just simple ways to save a couple bucks throughout the year. Do your squats. Doing squats allows for your legs to get this recovery action going. Sitting and just destroying your hips all night is something that really does take a toll. So doing your squats, doing your butterfly stretches, and just really trying to keep your hips mobile and strong will allow for more supportive back muscles and just better support in general with your core. So really doing squats does a lot. In these apps, if it's loading too long, something might be wrong. So try restarting, refreshing, force quitting, something like that. Every now and then I have to do a complete uninstall, reinstall with apps, but sometimes there'll just be an update that you need to do. So if there's some sort of jitter or glitch that happens, or some sort of buffery loading sign that you don't almost ever see, do a second take, maybe even restart your phone and just move on with the situation. But don't sit there with an infinite scrolling wheel waiting for something to change. If it feels off, something's wrong. Freon. So not every car needs Freon, but whatever the liquid is that your car runs its AC with, make sure you got some cold AC. You want to be able to snow in the Alps of your back seats. Keeping things cold keeps things nice. And so whether it's the food you're trying to protect or just the hot day you're trying to stay away from, keeping your car cool with great air conditioning is multiple blessings, so make sure it happens. Be crystal clear with support. Every now and then, you do have to talk to support about a fee they don't pay you, or an issue with the app, or some sort of customer drama. And every now and then, you have to actually request support to pay you for something that is really hard for you to even prove. And so when you get the chance to talk to support, put as much detail as you can and in as baby-centric verbiage, just so anyone that reads it knows exactly what you're talking about and exactly what you're dealing with. And then it creates this digital history. So hopefully them and other customer reps can at least see and feed off that for the time to come. But in my experience, these reps don't do much too quickly. And so you just got to be as much detail, as crystal clear as possible, as early on, and that's your best chance of getting it resolved. It's try and get things resolved in as little interactions as possible. Wrong ways usually have a purpose. I can't tell you how many times this happens, but you might be in a neighborhood and then you know there's a gate one way, but it says wrong way, but you really want to go out that gate instead of going around the whole neighborhood for an extra mile or two. But wrong ways usually have a purpose. Maybe the gate won't open, maybe there's spikes, maybe it actually is a closed road. And so even if you see the other side, try your best to understand that don't try and bend any rules, even if it's for a tiny portion of a block, because if you get stuck at the bottleneck of an intersection and you have to do a U-turn or reverse out the entire way, it's just not worth it. With apartment numbers, you can usually decipher which floor things are on. If you can't find the signs, which say on first floor, second floor, third floor, these are the units, when you're looking at the number, if there's 3 numbers or 4 numbers, you can usually tell that if it's in the hundreds, it'll be on floor 1. If it's in the 200s, it'll be on floor 2, and so on. With 4 letters, normally it's the first, but every now and then it's the second. And so keep that in mind so you know exactly which floor to go to. If you have a really heavy order, bonus. Is if you have a really heavy order and it's going to take a lot of effort to take it to the door, sometimes scouting and running up the stairs to make sure you're in the right spot, it will save you time. I do this all the time still today. There's 2 ways to enter the apartment complexes. It's on floor 3, but I don't know which one. And so you got to run up and see if it's on that side. And normally if you see on floor 1, you can see and guess what floor 3 will look like. And so at least run ahead and make sure you would go into the right domain before taking that action. Wear your seatbelt. I shouldn't be the one telling you this, but I know how easy it is to be in between a bunch of deliveries on maybe Amazon or even Instacart. You could be from one house to the next and just not put on your seatbelt, but it's not worth it. You're doing this to have a better life. And if you don't put on your seatbelt, you risk the chance of losing a better life very quickly. And so if you're going more than half a block or if you're going to pass a stoplight, it is maybe a good idea to consider having a standard for yourself to always put on your seatbelt. Don't use the doorbell unless specified. For Instacart and Amazon, this is actually where it pertains. Uber and Lyft, you should never touch their doorbell. But with Instacart and Amazon, they will tell you whether or not to ring. And if they don't specifically say to ring, assume that that means don't ring. Quadruple check addresses. When you are delivering Instacart, sometimes Google Maps will send you to the wrong house. It'll be close, but it'll be the wrong house. And it can even say a specific address in Google Maps, but the system kind of jumped its address. And what it seems like happens between Instacart and Google Maps is from Instacart, you can say navigate. And it'll open up Google Maps and it'll give you an estimated GPS location of your destination. And that will sometimes land on an exact address, which makes it seem like it takes you to the exact address. But just double check in the app that you're at the right house, and this will make it so you don't deliver food to the wrong house. Luckily, the only time I've delivered food to the wrong house like this is a time where when I was leaving, I quadruple checked the address and I realized I was at the wrong one. Google had taken me to the wrong address. It was like 2 or 3 houses away. It was a quick fix. I went to the door and I went back up to the correct address, but I had already selected completed and I took a picture of it at the wrong house. And it's like I came very close to missing out on a great delivery because I didn't double check, but this could be something that saves you. Shade yourself. I said this earlier with shading your car, but this one's important for yourself. I wear a hat when I'm out and about. When I do Amazon, I even wear one that completely covers my face. It's just important. Keep the sun off you. If you're going to be working in the sun all week, the sun drains you. Don't put so much emphasis in the sun provides you with that vitamin D development, but see it as this thing that could give you skin damage or suck out your moisture and dehydrate you. So shading yourself will allow you to have a little bit more stamina throughout the week. Point the blame off of yourself. An example, sometimes customers will complain about the price of their ride. What you can do, instead of being like, sucks for you, or like, hey, I don't control it, you can say, I know the company makes these prices go like this. They're going rampant these days. Or like, yeah, I know, I wish customers weren't charged as much, and I also wish drivers were paid more, or something like that. But if you point to the company as to the producer of the law, then it will take the blame off of you. So with Instacart, certain stores, certain times, and certain types of orders you can't add alcohol to. You're pointing at the company and its rules. If someone wants to sit up front or pack 4 people in to Uber or Lyft, point at the company and say insurance doesn't cover 4 people. So when you push the blame off of yourself, you are then in it together experiencing the same circumstances instead of this person feeling victimized by you by some sort of rule that is really because of the company. So do your best to point the blame towards the company. Protect yourself. With Uber and Lyft, you can't carry a weapon, but what I do, and what I would suggest people do, is have some sort of deterrent or protective tool. I have mace. I have it on me. I always have it on me. It is a brilliant spray. This has saved someone's life once before.
Hey, stop it! Hey, here's a knife.
And I will say, if you get mace, don't get the spray. Get the one that shoots the line. It's called like a mace gel. And then get one with a good protector so you don't hit it in your pocket or when you're moving with it. Plus, this one's easier to get to instead of that tab that you have to slide around. This is the highest recommended one from a lot of really good arms specialists. And what this will do is just allow you some sort of tool in case you, oh my God, I had to almost use this on a dog once, in case you have animals that come and charge you, or if you have people that go crazy, whether it's customers or people on the street. You know, there's homeless people all over the place, and there's a bunch of deranged people these days that go out in the world and try and cause chaos. And so having something on you for protection of yourself, or for the protection of your customers, or protection of yourself from your customers, is a good idea. And so whether it's this or some other device, I wouldn't suggest anything over mace because then it gets into weapons territory. And something like a taser keeps you in the danger zone. They're not always effective, and you have to actually be within striking distance from the subject. And so tasers are not as useful as you would imagine. Something like mace allows you to stay up to like 15 feet away from someone and completely disorient them at the push of a thumb. So protect yourself, because you never know what type of customer you're going to get. But then also, we just live in a world where, you know, if someone evil comes across you, it's not your choice when they ambush you. And so always having your tool on hand allows for some peace of mind. I have mine just in my door, literally within a couple inches from where my hands are always. And so I feel as protected as I could inside of a car where other people would be in it with me. But thankfully, I've never had to use this for my own protection, but I did once have to use this for the protection of my customer who was getting attacked from a guy wielding a knife.
Hey, stop it! Get in the car!
Get a grip. Get a phone grip. Like, there's a couple different types of grips out there, but I have a pop socket. And what I do is I use the crap out of this. You can use this to carry with you like this, and you can run really quickly. You don't have to throw your phone in your pockets, or you don't have to hold it like this and touch your screen and make things happen. I just use a pop socket. And this allows me to have a lot of control with my hands. I can carry bags while holding my phone. When I'm scanning packages, I'm holding it like this. This is something I've gotten used to over the last 7 years with a pop socket, but I will say that is my favorite accessory that I have on my person at any time. And it just allows you to carry your phone and not have to throw it in and out of your pocket as much. It's just good to be able to have it on, and you can have the screen on while you're using your hands, carrying bags and moving around. You can literally take a product off the shelf with your phone in your hand, scan it, and then put it in your basket if you have the right grip. And so get a phone grip that works, and you can add a lot of efficiency to the way that you move. Think of yourself as a representative for these companies. And when you're in stores, think of yourself as like an employee at these stores. It's important. You're working. That's it. You're a worker. So when you're out there, be the best employee, be the best representative, be the best example of a good segment of that working class. So present yourself well when you are representing these companies. You never know who's watching, and you never know what type of thing can open up. And regardless of trying to angle into some sort of benefit of your own, it just allows you to perform as a better person by being a good representative of these opportunities. A cousin to this, present yourself well outside of work. Like I said, you never know who's around, but also you're always around. Very often, especially if you talk with random people, the question of what you do comes up in quite common format. And so when you are presenting yourself well, you're out just shopping for yourself, it's good. Actually, when I'm in the store, sometimes I see someone looking for something. I'll ask them what they're looking for and try and point them in the right direction. Just being a good representation of humanity is a good thing that actually lines up on the positive side inside gigging it as well. Don't complain in stores to other employees. If they're out of stock with something, or it was hard to find something, or you couldn't find the employee, don't complain. If there's a glitch in your app, don't complain. If someone canceled, don't complain. Why are you sharing in your sorrow? That's sad. If someone cancels, just be like, hey, I'm on the other side of someone that canceled. Can't wait to see what one I'll get next. Thank goodness I don't have to shop for them. At least I'm inside in the air conditioning. It doesn't matter. No one cares about your complaints. Weak people love sharing complaining. And so do your best to be a strong person. Regular maintenance of your car is crucial. Depending on your car, it might be every 3, 5, or 10,000 miles. Get that oil change. Don't miss the oil change. Buy your cabin air filter, throw in the air filter every 10,000, 20,000 miles or something like that. Make sure your tires don't get bald. The worst thing that could happen is you cause an accident by negligence of maintenance. Do your best to keep up all of the maintenance that's required for your car. When that 100,000 miles comes up and the big $700-800 project of transmission flush and new wires and stuff, just get it. Just get it. Don't sleep on the maintenance of the vehicle that makes you money. Know your prompts. In the app, there's always these prompts that come up. COVID test reminders, asking for your mask picture, really making sure if you're delivering at the right address. There's just all these different prompts that are automated in the systems. Sometimes when you're getting close to the ending of a batch or a route, or when you're picking up someone or starting your shift, there's going to be a bunch of app pop-ups essentially that come up. And so just know which buttons to press and get through them quickly, because they can take a lot of time. And if you're signing in multiple times a day or every day when you sign in, there's 30 to 60 seconds of prompts between all the apps that you have to deal with. Just get through them quickly. Don't try and reread them. Just get it done. Avoid setting delivery in the doorway. So some doors will open inwards. You can set delivery wherever you want on their porch, but a lot of doors will open outwards. And so when you set objects on their porch, make sure it doesn't go into the door's direction of opening, because then they will have to push and smash open their products. And whether or not that breaks products, that definitely breaks their spirit of joy, because you threw their stuff in their doorway. And so just make sure when you place products on the porch that it's out of the doorway. Use your parking brake. When you park, especially if you're on a hill, any sort of incline, Instead of putting it into park and letting the brake go and your car catches the transmission in park, what that does is it creates tension on your transmission. And so when you start the car and then put it into drive, it has to jump over that tension to get into the next gear. But if you're using your parking brake, what will happen is you put it into park, initiate your parking brake, and then it holds it. And so when you let your foot off the gas, the car doesn't slide back and rest on the clutch. What'll happen is it stays locked exactly where you left it. And then when you start the car, put it into drive, and take off the parking brake, it's then free. But the clutch and transmission wasn't thrown against itself and held with a bunch of tension. And this actually adds life to your transmission and clutch because it's not going to have to forcibly make the jump over a few gears if you let it sit on it when you park. And so use your parking brake. This hints back to something I said earlier, but maps are only mostly right. With Instacart, you see a map emblem of where the house is, but when you select navigate, sometimes Google Maps routes you to somewhere else on the street for some reason, so double check there. Uber and Lyft, sometimes people don't place the pin where they want, and so if you go to the pin but it's on the other side of the building, just got to understand that sometimes you might have to do a double check or even reach out to the customer and make sure that the pin is exactly where they are versus an estimated area because they didn't select it specifically. With Amazon, the maps are almost always right. I've had a couple times where they were so far off and many times where they are just a little off, but it's enough to not be the correct door. And so rely on them for direction, but don't rely on them absolutely until you verify the addresses at the place that the apps say. And so you do need that double confirmation, but do know that maps are mostly right, but not always right. There's no reason why as to stop and block a road if there's no reason why to stop and block a road. What I mean by this is, especially with Amazon, even with Instacart, also with Uber and Lyft, you are parking in neighborhoods and on streets so often. It's easy to get lost in, I'm just doing my job, I'll be back really quick, this won't take long, and not realize that something could take 5 times longer than you anticipate. Maybe that's a busier road than it looks and you're actually going to cause a weird bottleneck. It's just important. If there's a chance or a place to pull over, or if you could squeeze a little bit closer to the side, then that will actually just make you a better person out in the world, but also make it so you don't have to, God forbid, you're in the middle of delivering something and you have to go back and move your car, and then you're leaving product out in the open, and then you have to move your car and you're running back and forth, and then you've built up a sweat. So just do your best to get out of the way as much as possible, as often as possible. Do this with your car on the road and do this with your cart in the store. Consider using low gears going up and down steep grades. So if you are going up a hill, if you're in automatic, just normal drive, it's going to rev and it's going to either have too high of revs or too low of revs. And so what you want to do is select the gear that you want. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, and just use that. Get your RPMs to that 3,000 range and just sit there at that speed. And it might feel like you're going slower than you could, but the next gear takes the RPMs too low, and going up the hill, it just makes it too awkward. Then coming down the hill, putting it in 2 or 3 allows you to save your brakes, because if you're just in normal drive, you're going to fly down the hill as fast as you can, versus if you're in 2nd, 1st, or 3rd gear, the engine is going to resist a little bit more, and that will save your speed and brakes. Find a comfortable way of getting in and out of your car. This is so important because as a gigger, you're going to get in and out of your car 100 times a day, or so it seems, but maybe it's less, at least 100 times a week. And so when you get in, just think to yourself, is there a comfier way I could be getting in? Is there a healthier way I could be getting in? Is there a way I could get in that utilizes less effort, that curves my back a little less? Just think of ways to streamline even just getting in and out. It might seem strange, but it's a task that you do so often that maybe it's worth it to find the best, most comfiest, safest, cleanest way to get in and out of your car. So for Amazon, send pictures. They always want pictures, yes, but in the sending of pictures, there's a couple things you can do. Maybe you can try and have it so the address is also in the picture so you know it's verified. Or if it's at night, make sure you throw on your flash so they can see the product. But what is really important with the sending pictures is when you have a parcel and you have to leave it out in front of their gate, or maybe you hide it in a bush. Showing very well where that package is based off of where the camera is pointed in your confirmation picture will allow the customer to know best where their package is. And so, yes, very often with Amazon delivery, you're like delivering an envelope into a bush, or like underneath a gate, and then like behind something that maybe you wouldn't even see it unless you knew it was there. So make sure that your pictures show exactly where the product is in a way that the customer knows where that part is when they see it. Do whatever it takes to deliver an Amazon package. If you don't deliver a package, you will have to take the package all the way back to the depot, and they don't pay you any more for this. That is just additional time at the end of your shift that you have to basically donate to a customer that didn't answer your call on how to get into their apartment complex, or didn't specifically tell you where to leave it, or said deliver to customer only, but they don't answer their door. So do anything you can to deliver an Amazon package. I have jumped fences, hopped walls, knocked on neighbors' doors. I have done so much to get that delivery delivered in a place that's safe and findable for the customer. But just do whatever you can. Think about it. Unless the customer says must deliver to the customer, if you leave the package on the property or in a place where it won't get stolen, or if you can't communicate with them over message or give them a call and figure out a way to meet, it's just so important to get it to the customer for your own sake. Yes, it is good to get the product to the customer for their sake, but this is your time, and saving that 20 to 40 minutes that going back to the depot could do for you is something worth stretching for. Be aware of dog signs. People that have these signs tend to have dogs worth warning about. So if you're entering a property and you see a beware of dog sign, but the gate seems really flimsy and open, maybe you don't have to beware of dog too much. But if you go into a property and the gate's like firmly locked and it says beware of dog, maybe this is one of those properties where you just drop the envelope on the other side of the wall. And this does happen a lot, where you drop a package on the other side of a wall, and you can tell this in the app. You can see that the location pin for the Amazon delivery for packages where maybe they have a locked gate and the pin shows like it's at the beginning of their driveway, that customer accepts packages at that pin. And so find a safe place to leave it, take a good picture of it, and then move on. And typically what you'll find is when customers are okay with the packages being delivered on their property somewhere, like on the property line, when you're about to make your selection to deliver, it'll say another safe place as one of the selected options instead of having the first option be front door, front porch. So rest assured, if it says another safe place and the pin looks like it's at the beginning of their driveway, you can find a place around there to deliver the package. Little bonus, if their gate is open, if it looks like they normally accept packages at the end of their driveway, but their gate is open, it's okay to walk through their gate and go to their front door and deliver it there. They will like you more for that. Don't be afraid to just throw it into their driveway, even if it's visible. If the gate is locked, that's their property, and they will accept packages on their property in that way. Front doors have doorbells. What I mean by this is some houses have side doors. And so if you're going to a door and it doesn't have a doorbell, the likelihood that that is not their front door is high. A side note to this tip is when you're looking at a house, it tends to be that the main door, the front door, will be on the side of the house where the address is. So if the address is on the left side of the garage, it's very likely around that way is where the front door is. And so keep that in mind when you're parking and walking up the property. With Amazon, use in-app navigation to verify and double-check your route for your shift. When you get to that hour beforehand mark, you can start navigation in-app to the depot that you're going to. And this just allows you for double confirmation of where you're going to end up, and you'll get a time estimate of when you would arrive, so you'd have a better idea of when you can start. An additional point within this is you can start 15 minutes before your scheduled time and as late as 5 minutes after your scheduled time. If you're running a couple minutes late, it is actually okay to be a couple minutes late. But after 5 minutes, you've lost that shift and you will be dinged for it. Before 15 minutes, you can't start. But once 15 minutes starts and all the way up until 5 minutes after, you can select arrived in the app, which essentially signs you in. If the door or screen is open when you're delivering a package, it might be a good practice to say in a nice, friendly voice, package or delivery or something like that. Because if someone walks around the corner and you scare them, I want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Yes, they're probably expecting you, but if someone comes around the corner and you're coming up on their porch, they'll figure out who you are, but initially they will be scared. And so if you're coming up to the porch and you see it's open or you see someone's in their backyard, like, package. An additional thing for this is when I'm walking onto people's properties, I have my phone in hand, as I said. I carry it like this, and then I have their package, and I hold these up by my face. Plus, I'm in a vest, and so I look like a worker. I look like someone that's delivering stuff, and so do your best to stay out of casual clothes. It is required to be in a vest the whole time when you're delivering with Amazon, but even with Instacart, make sure you have the stuff that's visible instead of holding it behind your back and seeming sketchy walking up to someone's house. If it looks like you're delivering, you're keeping people a little more comfortable. At the end of an Amazon shift for Prime Now or Whole Foods, the app will automatically direct you to head back to that store. But this is just an automated thing that the app does. And so knowing this will save you a bunch of time. Unless you have more than an hour left in your scheduled block, going back to the store won't be something that gets you more packages. I can't think of one time where I've been scheduled a further block after I've completed a block when there was less than an hour left in my block. Normally you only get 2-hour blocks, and yes, sometimes you can complete those very quickly, and it would be worth it if you had an hour and a half left in a block to head back to the place and maybe you pick up another quick shift, but it's very likely that the automated message doesn't care about you and it will just send you back and make you wait in the parking lot. So the thing to do with this is click acknowledge and begin, and then move on with your day. You will be notified in the app if you actually do get a route in that time, but I can comfortably say that in the last hour of your block, there's just not enough time to actually be scheduled a route in between the time it takes you to travel to that place and then the last couple dozen minutes that they have in the block for you. And so save yourself some time. You don't have to drive all the way across the county just to be able to arrive at the place 10 minutes before your block is up just because the app told you to. But the app will get mad if you don't click accept and begin or acknowledge and begin and have it navigate you back to it. But the app doesn't get mad if you don't head that way after you've acknowledged and begin. So hopefully that made sense because that will save you a ton of time. I mean, even after the last route of the night, this will tell you to acknowledge and begin heading back to the route. Even if you are the last route given for the entire day, it will tell you to acknowledge and begin heading back to the station when you're done. And so just click acknowledge and begin. But like I said, don't head that way because they don't have a route for you. It's just an automated message. So with Uber and Lyft, share the good news. There's good stuff that happens all the time, whether it's stories with customers or stories about the companies everyone's so caught up on. It's important to not waft in the negativity. It's important to promote the positivity. Do your best to share the good news and share the quality details of what's going on, either with your day or your experience, because your ride is only so long, and you could fill it with mixed stuff or pure negative stuff or pure positive stuff. And I would say that, go for as much positivity as you can. There's so much good that you could talk about. Might as well share those details as much as possible. You got to understand, what does it make you if you are complaining about things? A complainer. Air circulation. This is something that Uber and Lyft really wants to do these days, but even back in the old times, having air circulation is great. Not everyone has odor-free breaths, and sometimes people burp, and especially nowadays, there's some sort of thing going around, and so having your air on a medium or medium-high, something that doesn't make it sound very loud, but also allows for a lot of airflow. There's likely to be a magic zone of your air pressure, and so have it be there, and then have it be so it's flowing and keeping things cool. People would rather be cool than be hot. And so do your best to keep nice air going, because at the end of the night, people are all riled up, or during the day, it's so hot outside. So keep good air going, and even having air blowing on your face will maybe make it so any ill-intentioned particles don't get sucked up by you as much, and there's better air circulation going on. So keep your air vents strong. Mints. I guess I would suggest not doing things that causes people to take off their mask and open their mouth. But every now and then people ask for gum. Sometimes they ask for mints. But when they ask for either, I say, I don't have gum, but I've got mints. And it's just a cheap way to have having a bunch of Altoids in your glove box is a pretty easy thing. And it just adds to the experience for the customer in a very cheap way. And I have found that it is a positive return on that mint investment. No need to get water. I did mention water earlier, but that was for you. Do not get water for your car. Obviously, putting more plastic bottles in the world is something we should try and avoid. And quite honestly, not many people even appreciated the water. I was going through 70 plus bottles a week when I was doing the water brigade. And with the big waters, people would open them and not finish them. And then with the little waters, people were just taking, and it had zero effect on my tips. And so what I will suggest, since it just created waste and didn't create any income, it's not something I would suggest for people. Destination mode. This thing is awesome. With destination mode in Uber and Lyft, you can tell the app you want to make it to a certain address. Let's call it work. And you're starting from home. And you can have both those addresses actually installed, or you can just search them and look them up and pin them. And the app will know you want to get to that address, and it will match you with rides only if they fall along that route, generally speaking. And so if you're downtown and you want to make it to North County or something, you can say North County, and it'll only match you with rides that are headed that way. It won't take you to South County, an example. And so utilizing this is a great way to get across long stretches of the city, or even go to another city, or in between you and your appointment in another part of town, you can say destination there, just leave 20, 30 minutes earlier, have some time to get someone on the way, or even at the end of the night, sit in a nice part of downtown, wait for the surge to go up, and throw on destination mode for like 80 miles away or something like that. And you might get a big ride that's headed, 10 miles, 20, 30 miles away, and it will even continue taking in that direction after a ride or two. You can initiate destination mode on Lyft twice every day, meaning you say, take me to this address, and you start the destination mode. And once you turn it off, that was one use. You get 2 of those a day. With Uber, you get 2 destination modes, but they are qualified differently. You can turn on Uber's destination mode, and if you don't get a ride, it doesn't use up your destination. And so you can turn off and on Uber's destination mode as much as you want during the day. And up until you complete a ride on destination mode, it doesn't count for that destination to be used. And you get 2 of those a day. And it will stay on destination mode for up to an hour. I've had it. And so you can say, take me to this part of town. You pick up a ride, pick up another ride, drop it off, pick up a ride. And you can do multiple rides on the way to that destination. Lyft works like this too. Both apps have some sort of timeout where after 30, 40, 50 minutes, they will actually kick you out of destination mode. And so on Lyft, that uses one of your destinations, even if you didn't get a ride. And on Uber, if you didn't get a ride, that does not use one of your destinations. If you did, it would have. Drive to the action. There's going to be a part of town that is just always busy. Ours is the downtown center and our Pacific Beach areas. It's kind of the beaches, the touristy college zones. And then there's a couple other segments. And I know that if I go there anytime during any part of the week, there will be action. I live 25, 30 minutes away from there. It's not always busy out here. And so what I do is I set up destination mode, and I'll either wait for a little bit or I'll just head to downtown. And it's worth it. Think of it as your commute to work. Just get to the action and get to making money instead of waiting in the suburbs for a potential ride that may or may not come. I mentioned this earlier, but if someone mentions how expensive the ride is or anything about pricing, the price is not up to you. You are in this together. Every now and then, I would assume maybe you're a customer. And so we're all impacted by prices. And then also as a driver, we know what people are paying and what we're getting paid. And I bet that we all feel like we could get paid more. And so when someone complains about pricing, what I often do is, yeah, I know we got a crazy driver shortage these days. And so price is getting fluctuated like crazy. You should have seen it 2 months ago. Sometimes I'll even be like, I know, sometimes I feel bad when I'm picking people up when I see what they're paying. Like I will put us in it together instead of like, oh yeah, I am making a lot of money on this trip right now. So stay away from rubbing it in customers' faces and kind of be on the side of we're on the same side together. Keep doors locked until you see masks on. This is also good in normal time, is to keep doors locked until you confirm the names or how many people they want to try and shove in your car. And so what I do these days is doors are locked until I see all the parties with masks on. And then if I see a group of people and I'm unsure how many are about to try and get in my car, I'll be like, hey, who's Stephanie? Just be like, yeah. I'll be like, how many do you got? How many in your group? How many are we taking? Something like that. And I just need to confirm that it's 3 or less. And if it's 4, I'll tell her we can't take that many. Insurance isn't covering it these days. I'm sorry. And then I will be in a situation where maybe I need to end up canceling or she needs to adjust it before I confirm and then let them in. But keep your doors locked. It just keeps people that may not even end up in your car out. But since everyone's got to wear a mask on, and so many people come up to your car without a mask on and try and get in, and they sit down and go, and then try and put on their mask once you ask them. It's just save yourself the breaths that are not yours from other people by keeping them locked out. And when they come up and try and get in, be like, hi, waiting for a ride? They'll be like, yeah. Try and get in. Be like, cool, got your mask? And then maybe they'll show you their mask or be like, yeah. And be like, prove it. Or be like, could you put it on? Or throw that bad boy on. And let them put on their masks outside and then let them get in. And this is just one more way to keep the plague away. Don't give customers names. So this is a strategy that I do trying to kind of combat the strangeness of people trying to make you say both names. But what I say is I will say my name, but I won't say my customer's name. And this allows me to not be in the situation where you got a sensitive Sally out there that says, hey, what's your name? And you say it, and they go, okay, who are you looking for? You say, well, I'm not going to... Like, what are you supposed to say? Their name? Now, anyone could be like, think of this. If you're outside of a car and the car comes up and they're like, hey, are you Steven? And you go, yeah. And then you get into the car, anyone could have been Steven. So it's not good to ask if people are people. Say, hey, you looking for a ride? And if people say, yeah, be like, I'm Caleb. What's your name? Or be like, who are you looking for? And if they say my name, I'll say their name. You're doing the name exchange, but I don't want to give out my customer's name. I know my name. I do know my customer's name, but I don't want to give other people the chance to know my customer's name. Also, don't share both names. But explain to them how that's not very intellectual to both share your name and your customer's name to a random stranger that you can't verify before they try and get in your car. Hey, coming in for the last few tips. Be surprisingly, excitedly thankful for any cash tips that people bust out for you. There's a lot of quality in becoming someone who is a good giver, but there's also a lot of quality in someone that becomes a good receiver. Learn to accept gifts and acknowledgments and recognition well. Because on the other side of that, you have a party who has made the decision to give you some of their life's energy in one way or another, whether it's money and they earned it by working for it, or it's a gift which they paid for by building wealth. There is a decision that people make in the process of giving, and that is super rewarding to them. And so when someone puts $2 in their hand out for you to take, what I do is go, what? Really? Oh my gosh, thank you. So I add multiple exciting responses to it. And genuinely, it's kept me in a very grateful state. But when someone busts out a $5 or whatever it is, even if it's a $1 bill, what ends up happening, actually, if it's anything underneath like $5, people will even laugh at my excitement for it, being like, it's not that much, I've had people that have tipped me in the app after giving me a cash tip, and I've got to think that at least a couple of them have been because of my thorough excitement for the receiving of their tip. So if someone puts out money for you, be like, what? Really? Have them confirm it, and that allows them to actually have a heightened experience with you, and it just feels a little bit better all around instead of them giving you a couple bucks and you going, oh, thanks, have a good day. I go, what? Really? Oh my gosh, thank you. And so learn how to receive with grace. Make sure to have smooth transitions when turning and stopping and accelerating your car. What I do is I use both pedals. It wears out my brakes really quickly, but it allows me to drive a little more aggressively, but not have it feel so jerky. When I'm slowing down, I'm on the brake. But as I go through a stop sign, I've held the brake the whole time and I start gassing. And so I'm able to control my car to a smooth stop, hold the stop, and accelerate smoothly without that jerky pattern that comes from someone taking their foot completely off the gas to put it on the brake and then removing their foot from the brake and putting it on the gas. I use both pedals, and it does allow for brakes to go out faster, but it absolutely allows for me to go a little bit faster because I could utilize that double pedal control for the momentum and acceleration of the vehicle to allow for just a smoother ride. This might be a weird one. Like I said, brakes do go out a little bit faster. There's a bit of a learning curve on it, but I've got to say, I love driving double pedal. Last but not least, Tesla is going to be launching a robo-taxi network in the future of the future. And so there will be an opportunity for anyone to participate with something that I believe is going to be a gangbusters opportunity for the people at the very beginning. There will be a demand and supply constraint if this service ends up being great. And imagine Uber or Lyft with strictly Teslas, but then allow yourself to contemplate the ideas of someone like Elon Musk and the Tesla army. I mean, Elon has created more updates and features in the Tesla automobile selection just by receiving tweets from people than there are good features in any car in general. Right, erase all that. So at the beginning of the Tesla robotaxi network, it's going to be drivers with their Teslas driving essentially Uber and Lyft, except the passengers are going to be a little bit more excited. They're probably going to be a little bit more courteous of your car, and there's potential to have higher earnings. Now, we'll be able to see this play out, how it is bringing prices down for customers and increasing pay for drivers. Maybe it is similar pay and maybe the customer's price is just going to be the thing that's affected. But regardless of what it is, whenever the time comes, 3 years, 4 or 5 years down the road, after the robotaxi network has been with drivers, whenever regulation allows it, if you own a Tesla, you will be able to have your car on the taxi fleet going out there doing service calls without you. And so this is potentially a great opportunity for anyone that does gig work right now, because if you can get to the point where you can buy a Tesla, Model 3s start under $40,000 and you can get full self-driving for several grand more. And then your car is equipped to go out and potentially make $20,000 to $30,000 a year without you even in the car. And so if you could essentially invest into a business, which is also your automobile, which could pay off your car in 2 or 3 years without the use of you putting your time into it. I mean, yes, you would have to clean, and I'm sure there would be times where you are available. But if there's anything that this year has taught us is that if you could work from home, it's a fun thing to do. And this is a way that in the future, you'll be able to work from home via having your car out on the road. But also, if you went to work and you had a Tesla, you could tell your car that you got 2 hours to do your thing. Your car goes out, makes 30 bucks or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I've even seen that Elon has talked about creating a feature where only 5-star riders are able to use your car. And so it's just, there's going to be a camera in it. There's so many great things that are going to be in the Tesla network that Uber and Lyft have not done. And so I wouldn't sit back and watch that opportunity unfold because, like I said, at the beginning, there's going to be uniqueness that happens and allows for additional luck. And maybe the luck is higher earnings or bigger bonuses or just more attention. And maybe you could build your brand easier because you could then take videos of how this is all unfolding for you and you're at the beginning of the network and you came from doing all these gigs. I mean, that's basically what I'm going to do. So let me know how I do with it. Back to the video. So this has been a long video of hopefully a lot of detail that maybe it wasn't very entertaining, but I just wanted to compress a bunch of ideas about how to be more efficient out there while you're gigging it. Hopefully there was a couple things that popped up that will allow you to make more money. Sending that text at the beginning of your Instacart deliveries, making sure products are delivered on Amazon, keeping your doors locked on Uber, being kind, sharing positivity, not complaining, working as hard as you can to do what's right, not waiting too long if customers are past their grace period, and just doing your part to make sure you have a schedule that you want and you enjoy. Maybe you don't do a bunch of different gigs and you're just doing one, but maybe you want to squeeze while the juicing is good right now like it is. And so you never know what opportunity will pop up around the corner, but I can guarantee that the better you get now with the opportunities at hand, the more prepared you'll be for the next ones that unfold, because they tend to be these integrations and innovations based off upon the types of systems that already exist. So the Amazon 2.0 is actually going to be a mock of Instacart and Amazon and other things. And so when that network opens up, or whatever it would be, you're going to be that much more prepared with much more experience. So when you go onto that network, you'll be able to knock out those big initiation bonuses, and you'll be able to have a good rating right out of the gates because you've already had all this training doing this stuff. And so I do see life as a training battleground, and I definitely see the gig economy as this place for glory for the average person. And so if you want to go out there, make some extra money, use the codes in my description. You got to sign up anyways, and if you're not signed up, using my codes may give you an extra bonus, and it will also give me a bonus when you complete certain trips. There won't be any effect to you if you use my codes. Maybe there will even be a bonus. These companies always change their schemes, but using my codes will at least get you access and potentially get me some earnings if you get busy with the platforms. And then the last thing I'll say is there's some products that you might want that I have actually designed different shopping lists at my Amazon web store. And so the list and links to the things that I do and care and share about are also in my profile. CalebRainleys.com/links will be my links to everything forever. And so go there to check out ways to get free stocks by signing up on trading platforms, or go there to see the products that I suggest on Amazon for all this gig work. And go there for any social media links if you like following people on social media. I'm a person, I have social media. Follow me there. And I will say that this huge conglomeration of tips for all of the gig economy might have limited the time I could have spent on each one of these companies individually sharing specific tips. And so do look out for that in the future, that I'll give an Uber and Lyft only tips video, and I'll give an Amazon only advanced tips video. And there will be more to come from me from the channel for things that help give you more details about the share economy and give you more chances to learn how to have better philosophies to better suit personal opportunity in the future. So with that, thank you so much for listening. If there was something that you didn't know that you're going to apply and you're excited about, please share it with me so I know which ones were the best tips for you. And then if there's anything that you wish I hadn't left out that you want to share with anyone also, might as well share that suggestion too. I'm sure others will read the comments. Thanks for watching. Keep crushing it.